Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dig for Victory Fashion Show 2013. This evening, we will take you on a journey through the various fashions, both military and civilian, from the 1920s, 30s, and through the wartime period to the present-day fascination with all things vintage. We start our fashion journey after World War I, and here come Liz and Corwin from the 1920s. After the First World War, as the nation sought to rebuild itself and forget the dark years of war, upper-class fashions enjoyed a resurgence with exuberant styles and indulgent designs. Moving on into the 1930s, when fashion was a little more conservative, but we saw a return to the more feminine look. Women's contours were no longer being hidden. Long skirts and more of a focus on the natural waistline. We also saw the introduction of new synthetic materials such as rayon, wool, silk and cotton for fabric manufacture.
That they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland.
Despite Chamberlain's best efforts, Britain was plunged back into war. Britain's population was subjected to an aerial assault by the Nazi war machine. British cities were levelled, families were left destitute. The real victims were the young, the poor and the frail.
There'll always be an
Not to be beaten, Britons rallied to the cause in the face of this new adversity.
wherever there's a cottage small.
The spirit of Trafalgar was rekindled during the war, and here we see James, a dashing young naval officer, home on leave after the Battle of the River Plate. Accompanying him is Leslie from the Home Fleet, who just popped up from Plymouth for the night. And who is this young dashing fellow? Why, it's young sailor Shopland, fresh off ship in his duffel coat and roll-neck sweater. Ah, he still has his binoculars. I wonder what he'll spot tonight. All the way from down under, here's Gareth, epitomising the Australian spirit with his dapper digger hat. These tough young men went to war with a uniform that was very similar to that of the soldiers from the First World War, with a long jacket, and if they were lucky, they had boots made of real kangaroo hide. And look how he bounces down the catwalk tonight.
Kiss me good night, Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major, be a bother to me.
The Auxiliary Territorial Service, or ATS for short, was formed when there was a severe shortage of labour in the non-combat roles such as administration, mechanics and storeroom workers. First up is Lara, wearing the service dress, which comprised of a skirt and tunic, and a green shirt and tie, and a private purchase cap. A non-issue item, but accepted for wear by those who had chosen to buy one. And here comes Chai, a storeroom worker who is wearing overalls, a skirt, tie, and the iconic ATS soft cap. And finally, here comes Naomi in the mechanic overalls, epitomised by Her Majesty the Queen in those very famous pictures. Corwin is dressed in a No. 2 uniform, his service dress. This would typically be worn on parade, and my doesn't he look fine. Ready to impress the girls here at Tinsfield tonight.
Sergeant Major, be a bother to me.
And here's Derek, our RAF officer. And my, look at that moustache. Those Brill Cream boys really know how to present themselves. And here's Gareth, our younger model from the aircrew. He doesn't mind getting his hands dirty, as he works all hours keeping our spits in the air. Give us a cheer for the boys in blue. Tally-ho, chaps. And here come the girls of the American Red Cross. Jess is wearing a ward dress, typically worn in a hospital throughout the war. The American Red Cross, or ARC as it was known, made bandages, prepared food for the sick, and even served donuts and coffee from food wagons to keep morale up amongst the troops. There were also nurses' assistants in hospitals throughout America and abroad. Accompanying Jess and Rhea is James, the dental surgeon. You wouldn't want to be on his chair tonight, would you?
Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, 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 don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come on.
Here's young Corwin, our British officer. He never misses a trick. And here he is with our British nurse. The British Red Cross carried out similar roles to the American Red Cross. And here she is wearing a ward dress, featuring a pin and apron, headdress, and a cape worn over the top. The medals shown on this uniform signify that this nurse has passed her proficiency test in nursing and first aid.
From the guy next door to me, the girl he met just loves to pet, and it fits you to a T. So don't sit under the apple tree with anyone.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The girls are walking out, and they're in the mood tonight. And first up is China, in that lovely pink dress. This is a classic example of an American 1940s dress, evident by the level of detailing in the dress, as America did not experience the rationing to the same degree as we did here in Britain. Next up is Liz, in that classic tweed suit. The CC-41 label signified to the public that the clothing matched up to the utilitarian standards and promised to be of good quality and at a reasonable price. This tweed skirt and suit is made of CC-41 material with an elaborate hat. The government realised that morale in the country was waning with all the cuts, and so they did not ration the material to make hats. This allowed women to feel glamorous and ladylike with their headgear. As a result, some remarkable detailing and extravagant hats were produced during the war, and many of which survive today. Here is Jess again, in a peach dress. The peach dress and bolero are made from crepe, another widely used wartime fabric. The dress is cleverly decorated using minimal fabric to maximum effect. And here is Corwin, a fine young officer, clearly milking this situation. And finally, here is Rhea, in the stripy dress. During the war, women's daytime wear became simple and practical. This is a fine example of a wrap dress, which is a simple piece of fabric tied at the back. Easy to make and comfy to wear. This dress would have been worn day to day about the house while homemaking. The Juliet cap is a classic day hat worn at this time, perched on the back of the head. And here comes the lovely Kirsty in that wonderful mauve dress. This purple dress is cut to flatter the 1940s figure, which is nipped in, tailoring and decorated with sequins, though which were not rationed. Pheasant feathers were a common embellishment, and hat materials weren't rationed, so hats became a way for women to express themselves. The mink tippet worn here is a well-known icon of the 1940s, but in truth, women tended only to wear them to a big event and a special occasion, as they were a treasured item. James wearing the Ike jacket. It looks very similar to the British dress, known as BD. However, those Yanks always had better cloth, and my, doesn't he look smart tonight. Those Yanks sure are cocky. Back in those dark days of 1941, the Home Guard were the backbone of Britain's land defences after the defeat at Dunkirk. Here, Captain Perry is wearing a typical British uniform of the day, the British battle dress. Made of wool, the battle dress was renowned for being itchy, but the wool kept you warm when wet and cool when the sun shone. Its high-waisted design came from the ski outfits of the day. And here we have a scene typical of the period. Young Tilly, a long way away from home, is accompanied by the local Bobby, who takes her to her new family and away from the Blitz.
So watch out, Mr. Hitler, you have met your match in us. If you think you can crush us, we're afraid you've missed the bus. 'Cause who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? If you think we're...
And here is Derek, wearing a typical police uniform, very unchanged for almost a century, with a long jacket and buttons. You will all recognise the hat. Why not give Derek and young Tilly a wave? Help them on their way.
You are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England's done.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, a highlight of the evening. The wonderful ladies of the Land Army, who featured in our promotional video. The stars, Sabina and Sam, are here in their bib overalls, and my, don't they look fetching. This, of course, was the uniform of the Land Army. These girls toiled to keep the nation fed, whilst their menfolk were overseas, fighting the good fight.
Run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, run, run.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky this evening that Deadliest a Female has helped sponsor us with the girls' racy numbers. Up first, we have Georgina, who is wearing a vintage lace dress with teal and a black laced bust. This is another 1940s style, slightly more of an evening dress. The black laced bust is typical of the 1940s detailing, and the cut helps to give the impression of an hourglass silhouette. Next up is Chai, who is wearing a lovely black number. This is known as the Monica dress. This is another wiggle dress in the style of a 40s Hollywood starlet. It has an off-the-shoulder neckline and a half-length sleeve. And my, doesn't Chai wear it well?
She is the sweetheart of plenty of soldiers, plenty of sailors, thousands of Marines. She's the girl they pin up in the barracks.
And here again is Rhea, and my, doesn't she look fabulous in red? This is a swing dress with the black petticoat and the crisscross neck detailing and the bow at the waist. It's perfect for lindy hopping.
She's the chick they all pick in the service, and they take her all over the world. Think of finding a queen in a dime magazine. She's Peggy the pin-up girl. Peggy pin-up from the toes.
And here is Jess in the houndstooth dress. This is a 1940s wiggle dress by Stop Staring in houndstooth. It has a cap sleeve, a bow at the neckline, and a fluted skirt. This is a great dress to take you from day to evening, and it's bringing us almost to a close of our show.
To my pin-up queen. So Ginger Rogers started howling, and Mr.
Bringing us almost to a close of our show is the lovely Liz and the Ashley dress. This is a 1940s inspired nautical dress with red chiffon petticoat and a matching belt. And this brings us almost to the close of our show. And my, what a show it's been. Let's get some of the models back out here and give them a rip-roaring show of our appreciation for a wonderful evening of entertainment.